Hi folks, and welcome back to another fly tying video. So a few weeks back I posted a picture of a gorgeous George and I threatened to tie a Viva style of that fly. Now I did tie one, but it had a red tag and I wasn't quite happy with it, and when I posted it on Facebook a few folks agreed that the red tag didn't really suit the fly. So as you can see, I've corrected that and put in a pearl tag. Now I did a short form video, but it didn't really do the fly justice, so here we go with the long form version of the Viva La George, as I'm going to call it. So without further ado, let's get into it. The hook and device is a Hackle H260 barbless hook. This one's at size 8, it's on a heavy wire and it's finished in black nickel. Now I'm going to start initially with this Simplify Nano Silk. It's at white at 6/0. And the reason I'm starting with the white will become apparent shortly. So I do like messing with long established patterns. I know a lot of people prefer to stick to the menus of these traditional patterns. I'm just not one of them. So the gorgeous George, it's a great fly and a very famous fly up in Scotland and does fantastic for wild trout. And it's a fly that I really enjoy tying as a fly tying exercise. So the idea came, I've gone through a bit of a black and green phase, if you like, and what I wanted to do was a Viva sort of style version of the gorgeous George. So I'm just going to catch off some mirror tinsel here. It's quite thick, and the reason I've started with the white thread is it does make a difference to your tag. If I'm going to change over to once I've got the tag in place, I'm going to change over to black nano silk, and if I'd started with the black, my tag wouldn't stand out as well as it's gonna. So I've just got that round the bend of the hook. Forgive me if I'm rushing this a bit, but it is Saturday and the rugby is about to start in about half an hour, and I'm quite keen to get my backside in front of the telly with a nice beer and sit and enjoy the sport. So bear with me as I get through this. So here we go. We've come up, we're over the bump, if you like, and I'll just bring my thread over to catch that in, like so. And then I can take away the remainder of my tag, and what I'll do is just come in and cast off the white thread with a whip finish. So that's all good. So there's our tag. Now the next thing I want to do is I'm going to cast on some nano silk in black. It's at 12/0. I want the thinness of the 12/0 for when I come to the front of the fly, because there'll be a lot going on at the front, and I want to try and keep the size of the head down to a minimum. So I've caught that in along there, just remove that bit. I'm going to come another couple of turns back onto the tag, and the next thing I'm going to do is grab some Glow Bright number 12. As you can see, it's a fluorescent green colour. Now I like using the Glow Bright. It's I've got all the different shades. I just think it's a great material for tails and creating hot spots in your flies. Now I've folded it over 4 times. One more time should see me thick enough for the tail I want. So I'm going to lay that up. I'll catch it along the entire body. It will just help to keep the body nice and even. So I've got that in place like so. Now I don't want a particularly long tail. I like to come in with my scissors just at the back of the hook, slightly longer, and then I'll just use my finger to ruffle out that tag, and that's looking pretty good. Next I'm going to come in with some hot green wire. This is at 0.2 millimeters, and that's going to be my rib. So again, I'm going to catch it the length of the body just to keep it as even as possible. Even though I'm going to dub this body, I just think it always helps to try and keep your body as even as you can. So the next thing I want to do then is add in the body dubbing. Now I'm using some Trout Stalkers dubbing. It's black claret. It's a squirrel dub. It's been dyed black claret, and it's a lovely deep colour of black with a kind of hint of red in it. I really like it for any sort of dubbed body that requires black. Now I don't want to get it too thick, so the dubbing noodle I'm creating, I'm going to just work really hard to get it quite tight and neat in there, and then I can start coming up the body of my fly. And I might need just a tiny little bit more dubbing. Bear with me. Yeah, I've had a little bit of a disaster this morning, so this is not my first attempt at this fly. The first attempt went very well actually, but unfortunately the external hard drive which I store all my video recordings on failed this morning, which was a bit of a disaster if I'm perfectly honest, because it's got footage from all the videos I've done at the back end of last year and what I've done this year so far, so a bit of a blow to morale, but most of the stuff that was on it I've already published, so it wasn't a complete disaster. I'm just fluffing this out now. I like to do this before I tie in my hackle, just to get rid of any of the sort of loose fibres and spike that dubbing out a little. And what I'm using for the palmering of this is simply a cock hackle, and I'm going to just come up the hackle a little bit and just strip away a little bit to catch in. Now before I catch it in, I'm going to just add a little bit of wax. Just helps catch in any fibres. So I've got that in place there, and then I can bring it out to a 90-degree angle. I'll grab my hackle pliers, and then I'm going to get 2 turns almost on top of itself here. Now what that'll do is, because it's cock hackle, it's a little stiffer, it will support my front hackle, which is going to be hen. It stops the fly just collapsing in on itself when you're fishing. It does make these little differences, it does make a difference to how a fly swims and fishes. So I've caught that in. I'm going to come around with my rib. I'll just put my hackle plier on my vise there, and then I can catch that in. I want to try and keep my rib spacing kind of uniformal, just for my own benefit. I've not quite got that turn right there. I'll just come back slightly, and then I can sweep that back, bring the wire to the front, just there, and then I can get a couple of turns over the wire, a couple of turns in front. Keep pressure on your thread and you should be able to helicopter that wire away. No problem. Caught some of the fibres in there. I'm just going to come in with my brush, try and tease them out from under the wire. There we go. And then with my scissors, I'll just remove the end of the hackle. So it's looking not too bad. What are you looking at? Yep, looking pretty decent. So I'm going to just sweep everything back here, out the way, and then I'll get a couple of turns just to make sure. I see I've failed to catch a couple of fibres. I'm not overly worried. Next thing then is to bring in some legs. Now I've got pre-knotted pheasant tail legs here. It's a little darker than your usual. And what I want to have is maybe 2 sets of legs on each side. Just bear with me while I separate them. I'm just separating them off the main stock here. And then what I can do is I want to come in either side of the fly with these. Yeah. Now I don't want the legs to go really that far past the end of the body. So what I'm going to do is catch in where I think, just with a couple of loose turns. And then I can adjust if I need to, but actually I think I pretty much got that first time. Maybe a slight easing out of them. So I'm going to just pull slightly, just to ease them back ever so slightly. And I'm fairly happy with how that's sitting now. So what I can then do is come in hard onto the pheasant fibres, lock it into place, lift this up and snip away my excess legs. Now I can see this fly working really well actually as a point fly or a bob fly, but you let me know in the comment sections. You might think it's an atrocity putting Viva colours on a gorgeous George. Let me know in the comment section what you think. So the front hackle then is it's a hen hackle, and I'm just going to strip away the bottom part, leave myself a little bit of a handle here, and then with my hackle pliers I'm going to catch the tip of the feather. And I'll sweep that down to create my little Christmas tree. Then I don't need this much handle at the front, so I'm going to snip that away. And again, before I catch in the hackle, a touch of wax there. Then I can dress up my little tag, catch that into place. I'll make sure I've got a good tight grip on that. And then I can grab my hackle pliers. Now I've created a handle, and a lot of people, they'd be content to just use the handle that I've created here. But I always like to just come in with my hackle pliers. I just feel, it's probably just a confidence thing, but I feel like I've got much more control of the feather when I use hackle pliers rather than the actual natural handle, should I say, off the stock. The hackle pliers just allow me a little more control, or that's probably just my impression. Now I've got 2 or 3 turns there. This will be my last turn, and I'm going to just work my way through the fibres and catch in that hen hackle. Now I've not left myself much room at the front, which is intentional. I'm going to sweep everything back now. Just blow that little bit of fibre that's been attached. Then what I'm going to do is just catch in and start ahead. Now once I've done that, I can hold the thread and just pull away the hen hackle, and the job's a good one. Now I've tried this in many different ways. I've tried it with goose biots, but nothing quite gives the same effect as a natural jungle cock. So I've picked out 2 eyes already, and what I've done is I've prepared them. And what do I mean by prepare? So the guard hairs off the eyes I've taken away. And while I've got this on your side, I might as well tie this in first. So I'm going to just hold that into place, get a couple of turns. I'll just have a look, make sure it's sitting where I want it. That looks not too bad. And then on my side, I'll grab my other feather and just catch that in. And that's looking pretty good as well. Now, I've seen lots of different tyres do different things. Fold these back to make sure they're a bit more secure. It always ends up going wrong for me, so I like to just trim off what I can at this stage. Just remove that, and then I can tidy up the front. Now I really want to try and keep the bulk of the head down. So the one we started out with in the vise, I think I got a bit thread happy with it, and the head ended up being a lot bigger than I really wanted. So the 12 aughts helped me a bit with that. I'll come in with a whip finish tool and just finish that off. Now I'm not going to bore you any further by finishing it with varnish or super glue or resin, whatever your poison is. What I like to do with these sort of flies is I put a little bit of super glue on, wait for it to dry, and then I'll finish off with resin. And I think I've just got a wee thread there that, because of the lights, I didn't catch. And then there we go. It's the Viva La George, as I like to call it. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think in the comment section, and I'll see you all in the next one.